term bonfire actually came from the term bone fire, because of all the bones that would be left in the fire from all the sacrifices. Later on, the demonic druids, they would go from castle to castle, from serf to serf, sky-clad, which means they were naked, demanding that someone from that household would be given to them. They were demanding a treat, would be given to them so that they could sacrifice them in the fire to appease the Lord of the dead. This is where the custom of the tradition of trick or treating comes in here. So if the druids, if they got what they asked for, if they got the treat, they would leave what we call a jack-o'-lantern today out on the front step, which was a pumpkin with a grizzly face carved in it, but with the candle on the inside of that jack-o'-lantern being made of human body fat, which was to serve as a reminder of what happens to those who don't comply with the druids' demands. So when the evil spirits would come out that night, they would see the jack-o'-lantern, which represented the face of an evil, disembodied spirit, and they would pass by that house. Do you see how far the perversion of the truth is here? You know, only the blood of a spotless lamb offers the protection from the destroyer. Only the blood of Jesus. But if the druids didn't get what they asked for, then came the trick. No, they didn't get their windows sold. They didn't get chilled corn thrown on their car. But what actually would happen, they would proceed to paint a huge hexagram, which is actually the Star of David with a circle around it. See how they perverted the truth once again. And they would paint a huge hexagram on the door, and they'd leave this hex, pronouncing a curse upon that household, and thus the house would become haunted. Okay, what was the purpose? So that someone would die or something very destructive would happen in that household during the night because of fear. Because of fear. How many knows that fear can be very debilitating? How many knows that fear can be crippling? Did you know that fear can destroy the life of a person? That it can cause both physical and emotional illness? Did you know that fear can also cause you to lose faith in God? Because fear is actually just the opposite of faith. We know that there's all kinds of diagnosed phobias in the world today. And phobia has just become another fancy name for fear. Yes, there is a very realistic fear that I believe God has created and placed in our lives. And this is to create a balance between what might be an imminent threat to life. A fear that'll cause us to stay away from or not do those things that will harm us. We ought to be afraid to play in the quicksand, for instance. We ought to be afraid to play in the 4-lane highway. There's things, we ought to be afraid to jump off a 16-story building. That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about here. Amen. And, there should be a fear of doing the drugs that a lot of us took. There may be still people employed in that this morning. You ought to have a fear from that because it spells death. Death is death. It's not life. But there is life after death. Amen? Praise God. But it's a fear that'll keep us in balance. It'll keep us in check. A fear that'll keep you alive if you listen to it. But Satan likes to cripple people with the hypotheticals. The what-ifs. It's a fear that is totally out of balance. And one of the most powerful weapons that Satan uses, even against Christians, is fear. But beloved, as Christians, 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Amen? Amen. Say, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Amen. Praise God. So, the point is, if fear isn't from God, then I can presume that Halloween isn't from God either? Amen. Amen. Romans 8:15 says, "For you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father." Amen. Thank you, Jesus. Believe me, Halloween was not thought up just so our kids could go out and get a bag of candy. Think about it. I'm telling you the truth. This month, millions of people, even Christians, will be encouraging their children to pay homage to the devil. That's what it is. They will be paying homage to the devil. Even churches, as they decorate their fellowship halls with all the paraphernalia and the trappings of Lucifer's kingdom, they will be paying homage to the Lord of the dead. The Encyclopedia Britannica, and you can get online if you don't have, if you don't have the hardback covered books of the encyclopedias. But the Encyclopedia Britannica says Halloween in Britain was always thought to be the most favorable opportunity for divination. It was the day on which the help of the devil was invoked. The help of the devil was invoked. Now I want to give you two instances here where this made God really, really mad. And the first was, of course, when Saul became very disobedient, and was trying to do things Saul's way. Actually, I believe that Lucifer had a hand in that. But we can read in 1 Samuel 28 where actually Saul went down to the witch of Endor, seeking counsel, seeking help from a witch instead of God. All he had to do was repent and get out of the disobedience. But he goes and seeks help from the devil. And Deuteronomy 18:10 says, "Let no one be found among you that practices divination or sorcery." And of course, we can look in our Bibles in 2 Kings chapter 1, where old King Hezekiah had fell off a balcony and he got hurt. And so he sends a messenger to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, to see whether he would live or not. To go seek advice from the devil. But on the way, he ran into a fellow by the name of, he was Elijah the Tishbite. And so he headed off this messenger, and he said, that you'll find it there in the story, and he says, "Is it because there is no God in Israel that you go and inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, that, you go and inquire of him?" He said, "Now you go back and you tell King Hezekiah he's going to die. He's going to die because he did this." And he did. Say God was a little bit peeved. If you read the scriptures there, he was really upset about this. And so, if you need help, you go to God. You don't pay homage to the devil. You don't invoke the help of the devil. Encyclopedia Americana says Halloween is associated with supernatural demonic influences. These are our books of wisdom. You look around our community and our countryside this Halloween season and see if Halloween is gaining just as much prominence as Christmas is. Am I right? It's the way that people decorate their homes. And I'm not talking about just with corn stalks and pumpkins, which represent the harvest season or Samhain, but I'm talking about jack-o'-lanterns, witches, ghosts, and tombstones, and same stuff that came from practicing what the ancient demon-worshipping Druids believed. The World Book says many, if not most, Halloween practices have come down from the ancient Druids, who believed that black cats were reincarnated human beings, and from these Druidic beliefs come the present-day use of witches, ghosts, and black cats. Why are black cats sacrificed? Go ahead and the next one. There it is. That's a real slide of we have a friend that's chief of police up in Garrett, Indiana, Jerry Custer, and he's the head of the task force. And this was a real setting and it was during Halloween where they ran across some practicing Satanists, and they were sacrificing a black cat.